CIA last year awarded Blackwater and its shell companies new contracts to guard their facilities in Afghanistan and elsewhere. Afghan President Hamid Karzai has set a 2-year deadline for all foreign security contractors to leave his country. The retrial of the Afghan shooting case follows a U.S. judge's dismissal of manslaughter charges against other Blackwater security guards working for the State Department in Iraq. Investigators found that in 2007 they killed 14 unarmed civilians without provocation, but the judge ruled that the evidence was inadmissible. Tom Ackerman, AlJazeera, Washington.
A Danish boat carrying a family of 5 and 2 crew members has been seized by pirates in the Indian Ocean. The boat is reportedly heading to Somalia. The family includes 3 children between the ages of 12 and 16. 4 Americans were killed by pirates. That was last week after their yacht was hijacked. The latest population census in India is trying to put an accurate figure on the massive number of homeless people in the country. But as Prerna Suri reports, critics say the survey has no chance of recording the real number of street people.
This is how India is trying to identify its homeless. Late into the night, government employees quiz this girl about what she does, who's in her family, and which god she believes in. Once they tick all the boxes, the information will then be used to assess her most pressing needs. It's an ambitious task, and it's happening as the country's census comes to a close. We've kept the homeless on the last day as we don't want to replicate data. They frequently move, so we wanted an accurate figure. Hari's lived his entire life on the streets of New Delhi and sells balloons for a living. He's been asked these questions many times in the past. But has life changed for him?
They've come here before, but what's the point? I still can't send my kids to school or get a decent job.
Nobody really knows how many homeless there are in India. Figures are sketchy and unreliable. And with no identification papers, children can't go to schools and families can't claim welfare benefits. The point of this exercise is to include every homeless person in this country, and government officials are conducting simultaneous exercises all across India. And the time that they have to complete this is literally 2 days. So, not everyone's been counted. Across the city in a different area, this activist says officials have not counted large numbers of people.
This is a total mockery of a statutory provision. Census gives you the real figures, and we treat census data as sacrosanct. That what realities emerge, we take it. We have learned from census data as such. People will be deprived of their basic rights, basic entitlements.
As the rest of India races ahead on the road to modernity, there's a real danger the flaws in this exercise may leave behind some of its most vulnerable. Prerna Suri, AlJazeera, New Delhi.
6:30 hours GMT. This is AlJazeera. These are the headlines. Muammar Gaddafi's forces have been fighting back against anti-government fighters in Libya. Air Force jets have bombed a rebel-held ammunition depot in the city of Ajdabiya, east of Tripoli. The cities of Zawiya and Benghazi were also attacked. The Libyan leader has laughed off calls for him to quit, saying he'll never leave his homeland. He also claims he's loved by the Libyan people. In a television interview with international media, Muammar Gaddafi repeated his claim that Al-Qaeda is to blame for the unrest sweeping his country. As the fighting goes on inside Libya, governments are continuing to evacuate their people from the country. There were tears of relief from this Pakistani man as he arrived home at Lahore airport. He was among the 170 evacuated on a specially chartered flight. In New Delhi, another 266 Indians have arrived home on a special Air India flight. Around 18,000 Indians were working in Libya before the unrest. Nigerians evacuated from Libya are accusing the Gaddafi regime of atrocities against them. Nearly 1,000 have been flown home in the past 2 days, while another 1,000 are awaiting rescue.
I have so many friends in Libya. They told me that they cannot speak because Gaddafi have killed their cousins and uncles. He destroyed them all.
I thank God because I'm free today. And I'm not going back to any part, any Arab world. I will never travel to any Arab world again.
Egypt's top prosecutor has imposed a travel ban on former President Hosni Mubarak and his family. He's also ordered a freeze on all their financial assets inside the country. A heavy military presence is back on the streets of the Tunisian capital a day after the prime minister bowed out following a wave of deadly protests. 2 ministers have also now resigned from the caretaker government. And the Indian government is nearing the end of a survey that aims to give an accurate number of people living on the streets. India has one of the world's highest rates of homelessness. New Zealand has marked a week since the magnitude 6.3 earthquake hit the city of Christchurch. The country observed 2 minutes of silence to mark the occasion. More than 150 people from 20 nations have been confirmed dead. Earlier in the day, officials said the death toll might hit 240 as search and rescue crews continue to look for the missing. I'll be back at the top of the hour with a full news bulletin. For now, it's Talk to Al Jazeera.
On the next Riz Khan Show, as social revolution sweeps through the Middle East, how marginalized has the US become and how will this affect its future role in the region? Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Taimur Nabili. Now, rapid developments in Libya and the rest of the Middle East have been turning that region upside down. Old leaders are out or struggling to hang on, and what comes next is increasingly hard to predict. Well, on Monday, many world leaders descended on Geneva, attending a meeting of the UN Human Rights Council to consider these very issues. Several speakers used very strong words to condemn what is happening in Libya.
Today we have signalled that crimes will not be condoned, will not go unpunished, will not be forgotten. And this is a warning to anyone contemplating the abuse of human rights in Libya or in any other country. Stay your hand. There will be a day of reckoning, and the reach of international justice can be long. We must now maintain the momentum we have attained to ensure there can be no impunity for crimes committed in Libya, and to help bring about an immediate end to the violence. Mr. President, no member state has ever been suspended from the Council before, and it is not a decision that we should take lightly. However, this is the time for us to show that we utterly condemn the actions of the Libyan government, a regime that has failed so shamefully in its responsibility to its people, and that has been referred to the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, should not be allowed to sit on the Human Rights Council.
Colonel Gaddafi's brutal attacks on his own people are unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Gaddafi has lost the legitimacy to govern, and it is time for him to go without further violence or delay.
We condemn the grave human rights violations being committed in Libya. The violence and the repression must stop. Those responsible must be held to account. Not just a European position, but the view of the international community and its highest authority, the UN Security Council.
Well, I'm pleased to have with me now the Italian Foreign Minister, Franco Frattini, joins me from Geneva. Now, Italy's had a long relationship with Libya. The Foreign Minister is well positioned to help us understand what is going on there. Mr. Frattini, welcome to Talk to